Heading towards San Diego, siblings Cal and Becky are on the run. Becky is 6 months pregnant, and their parents' harsh reaction to the news forced their hand. As they drive, Becky starts having second thoughts. Before she can fully express her doubts, she's overcome with nausea, and Cal quickly pulls over near a small, isolated church so she can be sick. Just as they're about to leave, a cry for help stops them cold. A young boy's voice is shouting from within the impossibly tall grass nearby, claiming he's been stuck for days. They try to pinpoint his location, shouting back. By the side of the road, they spot a discarded book. Then, they hear a woman's voice from the grass, telling the boy to be quiet. Believing the voices are close, Cal decides to step into the field to find the boy. Becky follows, attempting to call 911, but her signal quickly vanishes as she moves deeper in. Looking up, Becky finds Cal is gone. She calls out for him, a sense of unease settling over her. Something is wrong. To help them find each other in the dense grass, Becky starts loudly chanting a silly, old rhyme they used to know. But the field is disorienting. Cal hears her voice shifting, first to one side, then suddenly to the other. They decide to try jumping up to spot each other. The first time, it works. They see each other, but on their second jump, they somehow land much farther apart, despite not having moved horizontally. Becky falls into a patch of mud, and Cal rushes towards where he heard her. He slips and falls too. When he gets up, he makes a horrifying discovery. The decaying body of a dog, identified by its collar as Freddy, covered in flies. As the hours pass and the sun begins to set, the siblings remain lost, unable to find each other or a way out. Exhausted and scared, Becky sinks to the ground and calls out for Cal, hoping he'll hear her. Suddenly, a shadowy figure moves through the grass. As it approaches, it resolves into a man named Ross. He claims to know an exit and offers to help Becky, explaining he's been searching for his wife and son, the same voices they heard earlier. Though wary, Becky realizes she has no other options and agrees to go with him to find Cal. Meanwhile, Cal, alone and frustrated, is startled by the appearance of a small boy. It's Tobin, the one who was calling for help. Tobin offers him strange comfort, mentioning that finding things becomes easier once they're dead. Confused and suspicious, Cal asks if Tobin lured them in. Tobin explains his family entered the field after hearing a man cry for help, and they've been trapped for an indeterminate amount of time. Then, chillingly, Tobin warns Cal that Becky will die soon. While this happens, Becky and Ross continue their journey through the field. Ross unnervingly brings up personal details, guessing the baby's father isn't with her, making Becky increasingly uncomfortable. As they walk, Becky notices bizarre objects scattered on the ground, medicine bottles, scissors, things that shouldn't be in a field. She looks around, and Ross has vanished. She calls for him, then begins calling for Cal instead. Suddenly, an unseen force grabs Becky and pulls her violently deeper into the grass. Back with Cal, Tobin leads him to a small, eerie clearing where the grass stops, dominated by a giant, foreboding black rock at the center. Tobin insists Cal touch the rock, promising it will bring understanding. As Cal approaches, faint whispers surround him. Deep, rhythmic sounds, like ancient chants carried on the wind. Just as his hand is about to touch the stone, Becky's piercing, terrified scream echoes through the grass. Without hesitation, Cal sprints towards her voice, ignoring Tobin's frantic warnings not to go further. Suddenly, the scene shifts dramatically. The oppressive, gloomy sky is replaced by a bright, clear day. A pickup truck pulls into a gas station by the same deserted road near the old church. It's Travis, Becky's ex-boyfriend, determined to find her and Cal, finding nothing at the train station. Travis continues down the road until he spots their car parked by the church. Peering through the grimy windows, he sees insects and a thick layer of dust, suggesting the car has been abandoned for weeks. Growing increasingly worried, Travis calls out their names, but only the endless rustling of the grass answers him. He searches the empty church next, finding nothing until he spots a book on the ground. Picking it up, he sees Becky's name inside, his worst fears confirmed. Travis turns his gaze towards the vast field of tall grass. He steps in cautiously, folding the grass blades behind him and using the sun to maintain his direction. But the field has its own malevolent will. With each step, the grass seems to unfold, erasing his path, and soon, Travis notices something even stranger. The sun is no longer where it should be. Confused, but driven by desperation, he presses on. As night falls, Travis, exhausted and disoriented, collapses to the ground, pulling out a photo of Becky to look at in the fading light. A noise jolts him awake. Tobin appears, seemingly out of nowhere. All around them, whispers and faint laughter stir in the darkness. Tobin, unnervingly calm, knows Travis's name, and that he's looking for Becky. He offers to lead him to her. Desperate, Travis follows without hesitation. But what he finds crushes him. Becky's lifeless body lying in the grass. Heartbroken, Travis clings to her, sobbing, as Tobin chillingly explains that the grass doesn't move the dead, because the dead are easier to find. The next morning, Travis awakens beside Becky's corpse. Grieving but resolute, he gently removes a necklace from her neck and begins moving through the field again. Soon, he hears a voice calling out. It's Tobin, sounding alive and well. Travis shouts back to guide him, and before long, Tobin emerges from the grass. But something is different. The boy is clean, fresh-faced, and accompanied by his parents, Natalie and Ross, and their dog. Suddenly, Freddy the dog bolts into the tall grass. Without thinking, Tobin chases after him. Travis tries desperately to warn them not to enter the field, shouting about the danger, but his words come too late. The family is pulled into the cycle once more. As darkness falls, Natalie, desperate to find her son, separates from Ross and wanders alone into the field. Now alone, Ross stumbles through the endless grass until he too comes face to face with the ancient, mysterious rock at the center. The following morning, Tobin is heard shouting for help once again, while Becky and Cal are suddenly back outside the field by their car, just as they were at the beginning. But this time, Travis is also inside the grass. When he hears Becky's voice, he calls out, stunning both Becky and Cal. They shout back, and Travis explains he came looking for them, which Becky finds hard to believe. Out of nowhere, Tobin starts reciting Becky's rhyme, and Travis follows the sound to find him. Becky does the same and runs directly into Travis, leading to an awkward reunion. Not long after, Cal appears, clearly unhappy to see Travis. As they stand together, they come across Freddy's decaying body, adding to the growing confusion. Travis drops another bombshell. He tells them they've been missing for 2 months. But Becky and Cal are incredulous. For them, it's only been 2 days. Feeling increasingly uneasy, Becky senses they are being watched and insists they need to move. Travis lifts Tobin onto his shoulders for a better vantage point. Tobin manages to spot a building in the distance, and they all begin heading toward it. While they walk, Cal asks Travis if he told anyone they were missing, clinging to a sliver of hope for rescue. But Travis admits he didn't, extinguishing that hope. As they move, Becky suddenly clutches her stomach in pain. Travis asks about the baby, and Becky tells him it's a girl, even letting him feel her belly to feel the baby move. Just then, a phone rings out of nowhere. When they answer, they hear a voice identical to Becky's, crying and pleading with them not to let Cal hurt Travis, warning that doing so will trap them in a cycle of repeating the same mistakes. The call is confusing and unsettling, but they decide to press on, unaware that someone is quietly observing them through the grass. A few steps later, Becky slips in the mud. As she falls, she's overwhelmed by terrifying visions, flashes of a baby, the tall grass, and sinister figures approaching her. The shock causes her to pass out. Cal and Travis rush to her side, but then Ross appears, feigning concern and offering help. Travis mentions the building they saw earlier and lifts Tobin again, but this time, Tobin sees nothing but endless grass. Ross smiles strangely and says, "That's how it works in here." With no other options, the group continues walking and inevitably ends up back at the rock. This time, they notice the rock is covered in intricate carvings, and inexplicably, Ross seems to understand their meaning. He speaks of higher knowledge as he touches the rock, unsettling everyone. Ross then urges Cal to touch the rock too, promising he'll understand everything if he does. Before Cal can act, Natalie suddenly emerges from the grass, stopping him. She is clearly terrified of Ross and tells everyone he is lying. She claims to have seen Becky and Ross before, but Becky wasn't alive, and Ross had tried to harm her. Ross denies it vehemently, but as they argue, Becky experiences more visions. This time she sees Ross, looking almost supernatural, lurking in the grass. Freaked out, Becky tells Travis and Cal they must leave immediately. They try to convince Natalie and Tobin to come with them, but Ross keeps insisting they touch the rock. Travis finally cuts him off, and the tension explodes into a violent confrontation. As Travis and Ross fight, Becky pleads with Cal to help Travis, but Cal stands frozen, refusing to intervene. Ross continues shouting that Travis needs to touch the rock and eventually beats him down. Then, in a sudden brutal turn, Ross turns on Natalie, completely losing control. He smashes her head with his bare hands, killing her instantly. The remaining group doesn't hesitate. They flee, running desperately until they find Freddy the dog again and begin following him. Freddy leads them to an abandoned building, and once inside, Travis and Cal immediately start arguing. Cal blames Travis for everything, accusing him of abandoning Becky and wanting her to get rid of the baby. Travis retaliates, accusing Cal of having disturbingly unnatural feelings for his own sister, which pushes Cal over the edge, and he throws a punch. They start fighting just as Ross arrives, trying to break down the door. The group quickly retreats upstairs to the roof, hoping to find a way out. From the roof, they spot the church across the field, but getting there would mean braving the grass again. While they ponder their options, Travis sees Freddy running through the field. But when Freddy enters the grass, he simply vanishes. This sparks a terrifying thought. Perhaps there's some kind of hole in the loop that could offer an escape. Trying to get a better look, Travis steps to the edge of the roof for a closer view and slips. Cal sees him fall and does nothing. Travis hits the ground hard. Tobin witnesses the fall, and when Cal notices him staring, he tries to offer an explanation, but there's no time. Ross is closing in again. The group runs once more, but Becky refuses to leave without Travis. When Cal can't give her a clear answer about Travis, Becky's suspicion grows. Without a word, she walks away from him. Cal tries to follow, but Ross bursts out of nowhere, grabbing Cal and pinning him down. Ross clearly knows the truth about what happened to Travis. Cal struggles desperately, fighting for his life, but Ross holds firm. Meanwhile, out in the field, strange and disturbing things are happening. Dozens of bodies begin appearing, lying in the grass. Travis, severely injured but stubbornly alive, manages to get up, calling out for Becky. She calls back, but they still can't see each other through the thick grass. Realizing the futility of trying to find each other visually, they both lie down where they are and start talking about their baby again. Travis expresses his happiness that she decided to keep the child, but Becky confesses that she wasn't planning to. They were heading to San Diego to give the baby up for adoption to a waiting family. Travis is heartbroken, but vows to find a way out for them. Suddenly, Ross appears and attacks Becky. They struggle fiercely. Becky manages to grab a pair of scissors lying nearby, but Ross quickly knocks them from her hand. He slams her down into the dirt, trying to overpower her, but Becky fights back with all her might. She grabs the scissors again and stabs Ross directly in the eye. As a torrential rain begins to fall, Becky scrambles to her feet and runs, but the situation worsens. She realizes there are dozens of those terrifying grass people closing in on her from all directions. They grab her and drag her deeper into the grass. A moment later, Becky finds herself lying in the mud, right in front of the rock. She pulls out her phone and makes a call. The very same call they had heard earlier, warning not to let Cal hurt Travis. Suddenly, the grass people return and surround her. Becky screams in agony. She is going into labor. The visions hit her again, and the horrifying scene unfolding exactly matches the carvings on the rock. After a brutal delivery, Becky hears a baby crying, but she cannot see it. Then the ground shakes and splits open, revealing a giant ditch between her and the rock. Becky stumbles to the edge and looks down into the chasm. She sees countless people trapped on the branches of a massive ancient tree. Becky backs away and collapses from exhaustion. When she opens her eyes again, she asks for the baby. Shockingly, it is Cal who answers her. He gently calms her, offers her water, and shows her a baby, bringing Becky a wave of profound relief. She closes her eyes again, weak but comforted. Cal begins feeding her, and Becky, starving, eats without thinking. He says it's just grass and seeds, but something tastes wrong. Suddenly, Becky realizes it doesn't taste like plants at all. It tastes like human flesh, and when she looks up in horror, she sees the terrible truth. It is not Cal at all. It is Ross. Meanwhile, Travis, badly injured but still driven by an unyielding will, continues searching for Becky. Eventually, he finds her lying alone on the ground. When Becky asks about the baby, Travis gently touches her belly and realizes the baby is gone. Crushed by grief, Travis breaks down in tears. Just then, Tobin appears again, delivering the terrible truth. Ross killed everyone, and even worse, he will continue to do so, over and over, trapped forever in the loop. Tobin starts crying. Travis stands up and shouts into the field, daring Ross to confront him. Ross needs no second invitation. He bursts out of the grass and charges straight at Travis. They brawl fiercely, Ross attacking with a sharp bone, beating Travis down until he collapses. Then Ross turns his attention to Tobin. The boy tries to run, but Ross catches him easily, attempting to force Tobin's hand onto the rock. At the last second, Becky, bruised and broken but still defiant, gets up and strikes Ross from behind. He drops Tobin, and Becky collapses again. Travis seizes the moment. He lunges at Ross, smashing his head against the rock, and finally kills him by tying a thick strand of grass around his neck. Ross is finally gone. Finally, Travis staggers over to Becky, cradling her as he weeps. Not knowing what else to do, Travis makes a fateful decision. He approaches the rock. Tobin desperately warns him. If he touches it, he will never be able to leave. But Travis doesn't care. He presses his hand against the rock. Instantly, a strange red light erupts, washing over the entire field, as if cleansing the curse. But there is a price. Travis changes. He now looks different. The rock didn't just curse him, it also imparted the full knowledge of the field's secrets. Travis knows what must happen. He leads Tobin to the edge of the field and gives him Becky's necklace as proof of their ordeal. Then, with a heavy heart, he shoves Tobin out of the grass, back into the real world. In the blink of an eye, Tobin finds himself back in the church attic. He stumbles outside, and there, on the road, is Becky and Cal's car, just pulling over. They hear cries for help coming from the grass, Tobin's own voice calling out. Cal, confused, starts walking toward the field. Tobin runs frantically, begging them not to go in. To prove his story, he shows Becky the necklace Travis gave him. Becky is stunned. When Tobin mentions Travis's name, everything clicks into place. She grabs Cal, pulling him back just in time. Becky convinces her brother to leave, and they take Tobin with them, driving away from that cursed field. But something is different now. Instead of heading to San Diego as planned, Becky changes her mind. She asks Cal to turn back, because she has decided to keep the baby. Somewhere deep within the grass, Travis hears Becky's words. A smile crosses his face. Finally at peace, he lies down and lets the grass gently cover him.